Welcome back to Brainerd International Raceway. You see bikes out on track now. It is time for the BellissiMoto Twins Cup, race number 1 of their championship weekend here. And Roger, it's been a great weekend so far in terms of qualifying pace and breaking track records. Rocco Landers was able to reset the track record here in the first session of qualifying, and we're expecting more of that today in this first race.
Yeah, Rocco just really has figured something out on the Twins Cup bike starting last weekend, and he's just been on fire this weekend. And we'll see. He won last race and it's carrying over to this weekend as we see the highlights at MotoAmerica Race 2, which was really the race that turned this championship upside down here toward the end of the year. Alessandro Di Mario on pole position with a really good start. Rocco Landers as well, able to get a good start, but Alessandro Di Mario had pace all weekend and he wanted to get out front, had that soft tire option, wanting to take advantage of that early on in the race. His teammate Gus Rodeo makes a move on Rocco early on in the race and kind of goes with his teammate Di Mario for the first couple laps, and then Gus, the championship points leader, down and out in turn 5. Rossi Moore and Dominic Doyle was having their own battle throughout this whole race for that last podium spot there. Rossi Moore was looking really good on the Twins Cup bike this weekend, and Dominic Doyle, the winner from race 1, was looking strong as well, wanting to try to get that win and the drive, but the battle was for the podium all the way through these two. All the way to the end, they just drafted back and forth. You see Di Mario, and look how far back Rocco Landers is, and there's only a couple laps left at that point. Rossi Moore, again, these two just had a battle, the drafting battle in every braking zone, but last lap, that gap is closed. Look at Rocco was able to close down on Alessandro Di Mario, talking about he lost grip. Toward the end of that race, Rocco gets a really good run, looks back to see he made a clean pass and was able to hold on and get the win and take over the points.
Yeah, it was a win by less than 0.2 of a second. It was 0.154 by the time they crossed that stripe. For Rocco Landers to get the victory, take over the championship point standings, and this is the way they sit right now as we head into our first weekend of racing here at Brainerd International Raceway. Alessandro Di Mario is only 9 points back, with Dominic Doyle now sitting 25 points behind Rocco Landers. Gus Rodeo there and sitting in 4th. Rossi Moore, he's been able to finish on the podium several times this season, still looking for a win. Avery Dreyer making the move up to Twins Cup as the defending Junior Cup champion as well, so he's doing double duty here again this weekend. And Jack Roach there inside of the top 10 with Sean Varsky and Romeo Chiavini rounding out your top 9.
BellissiMoto Twins Cup is brought to you by BellissiMoto, where the biggest names in custom bike building shop for parts. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
All right, as our coverage continues here on MotoAmerica Live Plus, Roger, 2.5-mile Brainerd International Raceway. Take us around it.
Yeah, going to be a lot of drafting here on the Twins Cup bikes all the way through turns 1, 2, down into 3, which is hard braking, where you're going to see a lot of passes. Down into there, 4, 5, 6 flows really well together, and then the long carousel right-hander 8 through that really tight chicane. 10, 11, last corner. Turn 12 is going to play a factor in this race.
As the sighting lap is underway, you can see it there behind this track map. It certainly is a challenging racetrack. A lot of the riders have talked about how it's mentally exhausting for them to complete these laps. This is the way they're going to line up. Our pole sitter, Rocco Landers, with Alessandro Di Mario and Gus Rodeo right there alongside him on row 1.
Yeah, great qualifying for Rossi Moore, Avery Dreyer, and also Dominic Doyle there, 6th.
Row 3, we've got Jack Roach, Sean Varsky. It's been a strong weekend for him, and Jeff Beam up there inside of the top 10.
Yeah, Jeffrey Perk, that's a good qualifying for him there in the top 10. We go down to row 5, got Bryce, Graham Williams, and Sean Morris there.
With Rodney Vest rounding out our 17 riders that we will see take to the grid for this 11-lap race number 1 for the BellissiMoto Twins Cup here at Brainerd International Raceway. You see all the riders getting back on their marks. That sighting lap now complete, the warming lap now complete. And see the weather, 72 degrees. It's much cooler than what we had during our first day of practice and qualifying yesterday. We see the clouds up in the sky. Hopefully this rain can hold off for the full afternoon, but you see As he runs away, that means we are good to put the lights up in the left-hand corner of your screen. They're out. We are racing here at Brainerd International Raceway, and it looked like a clean start. Rocco Landers lurking on the starts, and he's leading the field into turn 1.
And great start for Rossi Moore as well. The 2 Suzuki's going to lead this as they head down into turn 2 on this opening lap.
17 riders, I mentioned, out there for this race, but what we have seen so far this season is the gaggle at the front. They fight these races out all the way down to the end. Rocco Landers knows that, and that's what he had to figure out. He had to figure out how to have enough left in the tank to hold everyone off when we get to the finish line.
And Rocco has really showed a lot of speed toward the end of the races, is where he has struggled is early on in the races. As he makes a mistake right there into turn 4, going to lose a couple spots, and already fighting back early to get that spot. Looks like he outbroke himself a little bit early into turn 4. I'm sure he was trying to found himself in the lead and was wanting to try to break away on his first lap.
Take a replay at this pass for the lead.
Yeah, look at Rocco. See how he just blew the corner. Luckily, he was able to stay on the track there, and you know, Rossi Moore was able to make the pass. And you see Rocco already with his head down, trying to make that spot back up. He missed.
We mentioned Rossi Moore. We were looking at the highlights from MotoAmerica and how he's still looking for a win. You know, he's made that move up to Twins Cup from Junior Cup as well. We were here at Brainerd last year. If you're a fan of Rossi Moore, you saw him win this race last year in Junior Cup, so he's made a big step forward this weekend.
And we had him on the preview show on Friday, and he was just beaming with confidence. Getting that podium last race at MotoAmerica was huge for him, and we'll see now with the momentum. He got the podium. Now his target is to try to win as Rocco makes the pass.
Rocco sat behind him for as long as he could, but knew that he has to get out ahead of him, and he needs to be able to do exactly what we saw Hayden Gillum do in that first race, and that's just beat down these first few laps, try and build a gap over the rest of the field so that he can hold him off at the end.
And now Rocco's going to be in the spot where he wants to be. He was there in the previous lap. He made the mistake this is turn 3. The next left-hander, turn 4, is where he made the mistake the previous lap. I bet he doesn't make the same mistake again.
Rocco Landers is the winningest rider in this format, in the Twins Cup format. He has 17 victories, 2 so far this season, as he has taken over the points lead, and he's here for the full year, so this is certainly a championship, another one that he wants to add onto his roster.
Yeah, and Alessandro DeMario's looking racy early on as well, trying to find a place to get by Rossi Moore. Just hasn't been close enough to make that break, and I think he knows the speed that Rocco has, and he does not want to see him get away and him falling back here in third and letting Rocco pull away.
On the second half now of lap number 2 of this 11-lap race. You can see there on that overhead, that drone shot, the front 3, but Gus Rodeo sitting there in 4th. He closed that gap just a little bit there as he came through that sector, and he's right there on the tail end of this battle. You can see Dominic Doyle there sitting in 5th right now. That was that black and blue bike, and then you saw the white bike at the back of the frame, Avery Dreyer there in 6th. So there's certainly plenty of action that is yet to unfold as Rocco Landers extends that gap out over Rossi Moore and Alessandro DeMario.
You see Alessandro really getting a good run on Rossi Moore there. That's the Aprilia strong point there on the top end. They have a little bit of an advantage at this moment, and looks like he was a little too close and got almost into the back of him, and they was able to slow down.
One of the things that Rocco talked about, Roger, was the fact that he needed to get himself back into race mode for the Twins Cup. That's what we saw happen at Road America, but he wasn't expecting the competition to be as fierce as what it is in this Twins Cup format, and that really speaks to the ladder that exists here within the MotoAmerica ranks, that these riders are coming up to Twins Cup from Junior Cup, but they're coming with a ton of experience and racecraft.
Yeah, Rossi and then also Alessandro DeMario, 2 really young, talented riders, and then also Gus as well as a guy that's got a little experience in this class, and they all want to come out here and beat Rocco and show they have the same speed. Rocco has a big resume, and you got there and you beat Rocco, then you're really showing you got the talent.
See Rocco look over his shoulder. He's got Rossi Moore there behind him, less than a second back right now, but Alessandro DeMario is so close to the back of Rossi Moore.
And I think this could be the lap when they head into turns 2, where if Alessandro Mario gets a really good run, you'll see how far back he is right here, and when they go through 1, he really closes up that gap. So we see Dominic Doyle and Avery Dreyer having a good battle there for 5th and 6th.
Avery Dreyer is the defending, we mentioned, Junior Cup champion, still competing in that category as well. But Dominic Doyle, he had a strong start to the season. He had a podium finish in the first race at Daytona, had an incident in the second race, but then able to rebound and finish inside of the top 5 pretty consistently. But for Dominic, he knows, and he mentioned it in our preview show, as Avery Dreyer has now made that pass around Dominic Doyle, he knows that this is one of those weekends where he needs to just hold on and keep building and taking away running his own program.
Yeah, and just getting the points and trying to be there at the end as Alessandro Mario was able to make that pass. He sees Rocco pulled out to about a 2nd gap and doesn't want to see that happen that last lap. Rocco did a 36.2, which is a race lap record. So each lap, Rocco just seems to get quicker, and we'll see if he can continue that as the race goes on.
It's not just a race lap record, Roger. He 0.7 of a second. He bettered the existing lap record in race trim those Anthony Mazziato set here in 2022. Twins Cup didn't race at this racetrack last season. So when all of the riders showed up here on Friday, just getting a taste of the Twins Cup bike out here around Brainerd International, it took a little bit of time for riders to get up to speed and feel comfortable with it, but they all made quick work, and now we're broken records on both ends.
Yeah, now Alessandro Mario's putting a great lap together. He got red 1st and 2nd sector, personal best in the 3rd. So last lap he was about a 2nd back. We'll see if he's able to close it down. Fastest lap of the race, but Rocco still has quite the gap.
A 1:36.1 new lap record goes to Alessandro Mario, but we still have 7 laps to go in this first race for the BellissiMoto Twins Cup. This battle continues between Dominic Doyle and Avery Dreyer. The two have gone back and forth. Avery made the pass. Dominic saw where he needed to improve. He made those improvements, got back around him. Neither one wants to let go of the mark.
This is a good ride for Avery. He's kind of struggled a little bit after the first round at Daytona, where he's able to get on the podium, and kind of struggled with his confidence a little bit. He's looking good this weekend.
He was able to go out in the Junior Cup session this morning as well and improve his lap time and lead that qualifying session. So it's been a good day for Avery also.
I think for Avery also doing Junior Cup, he's starting to figure out how to bounce back and forth between each bike a lot quicker. And being a young rider, just took a couple races to get it sorted out. You can see today he's looking really good.
That's a good point, that he's had to go back and forth between the 2 bikes, and starting off the season, you know, they started off, I mentioned, at Daytona. For Twins Cup, that was a points-paying weekend for them. Then they raced at Road Atlanta, at Barber, Road America. They've had a really strong start to the season. With 2 races here this weekend, that puts only 2 races remaining in their championship. This is the time where you make it or break it.
Only a couple races left, and I think that's why you see Alessandro Mario pushing as hard as he is. And also, Rossi Moore's doing a great job hanging on right there, trying to bring the fight to Alessandro, but just not close enough.
Well, Alessandro was slower than Rossi Moore that last lap, as Rossi Moore turned his best lap of the race, just a little bit off of the mark of the other 2 riders of Rocco and Alessandro, but he's certainly there right in the mix.
Yeah, that last lap, Rocco again takes back the best lap of the race with the 36.1. We talk about it all the time. As the race goes on, Rocco somehow gets quicker. He figures out how to ride around when the tires go off a little bit and is able to get quicker.
But I think that's the discipline, right? That's what Rocco's talked about, is that he wasn't able to be there at the end, and he needed to put his head down, stay patient, knows that he can't use everything up at the beginning, but he's got to have something left to fight with. You know, Rocco's still such a young rider, but he's been around, it seems like, forever, coming through all of the various classes. Alessandro Mario there sitting in 2nd. He has gone red in the 2nd sector, so he's able to improve his laps as the laps continue to tick away. 6 laps to go in this 11-lap race, and all of these riders are still able to find some pace, even though the tires are in the second half of the race. They're still pushing.
It says a lot about Dunlop, the tire they bring. These guys are breaking records every lap. Even with the tires getting laps on them, you can see right now Alessandro Mario has definitely closed down the gap a little bit. This lap, we said the previous race where the leader ran into the tire, went off a little bit, so we'll see if Rocco can hold the pace.
It's Rossi Moore on the 92, Alessandro Di Mario on the 27. Still pushing each other, but trying to close that gap that Rocco Landers has. It was 1.2 seconds the last time across the stripe.
Again, Rossi Moore with his best lap of the race. So this is Rossi's really latching on and trying to chase these two guys down and have Alessandro bring them up to Rocco.
It's amazing when you see how close these three are, and you know they're all still Rocco's the oldest of these three, Alessandro Di Mario, Rossi Moore, making this move up into Twins Cup now, but just the amount of racecraft that they have, and they're able to see where they're better, see where they can improve, and they're just so focused on the task that's at hand, even though you know they're 15, 16, 17 years old.
Well, I think just they've raced each other for so long. It's competitive at a young age, and they just keep pushing each other and make each other better. I mean, we see it in this race right now. Every time somebody does a better lap, the next person steps up, and then it's just back and forth. They're really raising the level of each rider. We see this lap here, Rocco's able to extend that lead. Rocco, personal best first sector. Second sector, the fastest one of the race. So he's just getting better each lap.
You see Gus Rodeo there was in the back of the screen on that number 96. He's been able to close that gap down just a bit, but these front four, they've got over a 5-second gap on the rest of the field as Alessandro Di Mario looking over his shoulder to see how much space he has, and it's not a lot.
It's not a lot, but Rossi Moore's got quite the gap now back to Gus, so he can kind of focus on trying to make that pass on Alessandro Di Mario. He doesn't have to worry about opening his line or closing the line and somebody behind him make the pass. 35.8 for Rocco last lap.
The only rider who is in the 35s so far is Rocco Landers, and that's kind of the sort of weekend that he's had so far, right? Every time he gets on this Twins Cup bike, he lowers the mark.
He just wasn't winning by enough, and he had to go quicker, and that's a great thing. Alessandro put that pressure on Rocco, made him step up and dig a little deeper, and Alessandro's going faster as well. Rossi Moore also, these guys are going really consistent.
You know, it's amazing to think that we're getting to the end of this Twins Cup championship with only one race left here tomorrow, and then 2 races left at Circuit of the Americas later on in the summer. But for Rocco Landers, it's the first time he's come in as the point leader, and it took him that many races to be able to get to that point. But that was one of the things that you and I talked about coming into the weekend, is now that he's there, how do you stop him?
It's hard. I mean, he's been in these positions before. He's won a lot of titles, so it's really difficult to stop Rocco. He's been there. He believes in himself. He has a lot of confidence. See Rossi Moore gonna look like he was gonna try to make the pass. Wasn't close enough. Rocco also on the Vance and Ihans teams has so many good people around him to help him work through these situations in a position that he hasn't been in so far this season.
It all comes down to that focus, and you know, Terry Vance, when he had the opening on the King of the Baggers and he saw Rocco as being an available rider, he went ahead and put him on there, and then opened up the Suzuki program as well, put Rocco on that, and grew their race truck a little bit and added on this Twins Cup category. And Rocco's really made him proud and has really shown that it was worth all of that effort in the offseason to be able to do all of that work. But you saw that live championship graphic that was there, and with the results as they are right now, Dominic Doyle moves a little bit further back.
It's been you know, the Suzuki GSX 8R, they said they were going to struggle early on as the year started. They just got the bikes, Rossi Moore and Rocco Landers, 2 different teams, but on Suzuki that they were going to struggle a little bit early until they get the bike figured out, and now looks like they've got things figured out right at the right time. Rossi Moore also looking really good on the Suzuki, and Rocco as well.
3 laps to go in this 11-lap race, and the battle continues between Alessandro Di Mario and Rossi Moore. The 2 of them have gone back and forth at each of the races so far this season. Just, you see a lot of respect between the 2 of them. You mentioned it, they've been riding together for so long. They know each other's tendencies, but they do it respectfully.
Yeah, last lap, Rossi Moore looked up the inside right here on the previous lap. I think if he's that close on the next lap, he might try to make the pass, as we see Gus Rodeo here still holding down fourth, just a lonely race for him so far today.
Yeah, that gap that he has now to third place, ahead of him is grown to over 6 seconds, and the last lap by, he was a second off of the pace of those front runners. So as the race ticks on, you can really see who held on to the most and maybe whose setup is better for the end of the race. Track temperatures certainly are cooler today. We know there's more grip that's available out there, and being able to use all of it that's the key.
Rossi Moore's close. Yeah, somewhere on this last lap, I think if he can just get a little bit closer, he might try to take a shot to make the pass. It's just hard. DeMario, for a young rider, never makes a mistake. Even with the pressure behind him this whole race, he hasn't put a wheel wrong. It's making it hard for Rossi to try to make a move.
But even if he can't make the move in this race today, they do race again tomorrow, and he's also a smart rider. He's going to go back, he's going to look at each of these laps, he's going to see this battle, the way it unfolded over the race, and he'll do something a little different tomorrow.
Well, for Rossi, this is another really great ride, just stacking these podiums up, being consistent back to back as a young rider, you know, doing it once and then continue to do it and keep clicking them off. Right through here, he's really fast. Rossi is trying to get a good run through this little short shoot down into turn 12. Is he going?
He was looking for it. Didn't look like it. Saw in the back of that shot, it didn't look like he was able to hold on to it as Rocco Landers was coming through some traffic to take the white flag, begin the final lap of this race. You see Alessandro DeMario, Rossi Moore is remaining in that order. It is the 27, still leading the 92.
Looks like Rossi was able to sweep around the outside possibly. He was close. The Aprilia just a little bit better on the top end, but Rossi's as close as he's ever been here on the last lap.
Well, he took the white flag also. He knows that if he's going to make a move, it's got to be on this lap. Otherwise, it's not going to matter. And he certainly understands the championship points and the implications that a second place has over a third place finish. And so for him, he really wants to get around him, and he wants to make it happen. He has to make it happen now.
He's been in a good spot, been behind the last 4 or 5 laps, so he knows exactly where his spots are, where he's better, and where he can possibly make a pass on this last lap, and I think it's going to be on the last part of the track.
We go back up front, you can see the gap that Rocco Landers has over this battle for second. Don't even see Gus Rodeo in the shot anymore as that gap grew to over 9 seconds as they all took the white flag.
Coming out of the chicane is where Rossi's really good at getting a good run, getting all the way through 10 and 11, getting a run all the way down to turn 12 to see if he can put himself on the inside and actually make the pass stick. Alessandro's blocking it though. That was a smart move by Alessandro, but was he too tight? Rossi went for it.
Rossi definitely went for it as Rocco Landers takes the checkered flag. The two come across the stripe, and it's going to be Alessandro DeMario finishing ahead of Rossi Moore. Rossi gave it everything that he had, as we now see Avery Dreyer, who has been able to make the pass around Dominic Doyle. He's made it stick at this point as these two come across. Gus Rodeo did finish in 4th. Avery Dreyer will take home 5th, and there's Dominic Doyle taking the checkered flag in 6th. See Rocco Landers now able to celebrate his 3rd victory of the season. We're going to step away. We'll be right back.
We repair, restore, we do crash damage repair, we do color restoration, color modifications, alterations to make your stick better, and also custom logos and putting names on your suit as well.
Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Frankie Garcia out here with Mission King of the Baggers, and we're going to talk about Anthony